Hi guys, it's April. As most of you have noticed, there has been some crazy Harry Potter hype going around right now because of the release of this book, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It has taken over a lot of the bookstores, and I've started to see an influx of reviews over this book because a lot of us have just picked up this book and just read it straight through, and now it's my turn to give my thoughts and feelings on this thing. I will do, of course, this review in the same fashion I do all of my other reviews. I will have the non-spoilery section at the beginning, and then I will switch over into the spoil sections, but I will let you know when that happens in case you don't want to be spoiled. With that being said, I am going to waste no time and get into all of the stuff with this book. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a product of J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany, and Jack Thorne. It isn't a traditional Harry Potter book based on the fact that it is the script for the new Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play that is not currently anywhere near me. So this is just the script. It's all written by fact that Harry, words. And then sometimes in italics it gives an action that the characters are going to do, but this is a play. It is a play. Don't go into this expecting to get the full-on J.K. Rowling experience, because it's not. J.K. Rowling had some influence on the story, but it is mostly the product of Jack Thorne. This story continues on the epilogue at the end of book 7, which is 19 years after the final battle, in which all of our beloved favorites are all grown up and mostly have kids of their own. This story revolves around said kids going to Hogwarts and how the past and the future can collide, and how fame and history can influence the next generation. You get to see Harry's interaction with his son, Albus Severus Potter, and how Harry's life is impacting everything that his children have to go through. Something dark from the past is coming to the present and influencing things that may be going on. I was kind of excited but a little bit leery to hear that there was another book coming out, even if it was a play, so far after all of the other books have been written, and by the fact that it isn't necessarily J.K. Rowling's mind child. It didn't read like J.K. Rowling at all. It did feel a little bit like fan fiction because of it. I got some of the nostalgia feels while reading through it, but it didn't feel the same. It didn't have that magical quality that I've come to associate with reading and rereading the Harry Potter series. And some of the characters felt really flat to me because one personal trait from that character was blown up to the point of annoyance almost, and then the rest of the character was left flat, and they pushed the characters into roles that, yeah, you could see those characters in, but why? It could have been so much more. I understand that it's a play and maybe it'll read differently when you actually see it, because there are points where the storyline just got really repetitive. Something would happen and that would trigger an action, and that cycle repeated where that second action, I don't want to spoil it, that second action was repeatedly the same and didn't make sense for the whole infrastructure of the wizarding world and school. I felt like it was thrown in there so that we could get all of the older characters remaining in the story and they could go back to Hogwarts. It was that repetitive cycle. Also, there were some key points in the plot that I didn't agree with. There was no way I could ever see any of that happening because there are power struggle issues, there are personality issues, and there are just gross factors that I don't want to think about. I was so conflicted by this story. Part of me wishes I had never read it. The other part is glad that I read it because now I know what people are talking about when they're reading this book. And the final part of me is just like, I may not even acknowledge that this book is part of the whole Potter universe because it doesn't fit. My mind can't put it in place with the rest of the story. I almost like how the epilogue left it open-ended for our brains to just imagine what these characters had become as they gotten older, instead of shoehorning them into the traditional roles that people think they should be in. I don't know. Like I said, that my review is all over the place. I hate it, but I like the nostalgia it brought. But I hate it, but I like the nostalgia it brought. It was a thing. So I ended up only giving it a 2.5, and that might be a little inflated just because it is part of the Harry Potter universe, and I have so much invested in that it almost pains me to give it 2 or 1 stars. So I got a 2.5 stars. So now that I've given you this like really vague overview of my thoughts and feelings over this book, I am going to go into depth of why I felt those feelings, because now we're going to get into the really spoilery stuff, and I don't want to ruin it for people who want to either go pick up the book themselves or aren't ready to get into this story. Come back if you decide to read it, or if you have read it, stick around and let's start a conversation, because this is about to get a little rough for me. Okay, so some of my biggest issues with the story, besides the fact that it wasn't J.K. Rowling who was writing this story, so therefore it felt nothing like any of the other writings. The dialogue was not to par with what I associate with the series. The repetitive nature of the kids going off and doing something and that triggering a dream or something else through Harry Potter, and then all of them just going to Hogwarts and bugging poor McGonagall, that was really annoying to me, especially since a big chunk of that book is that cycle, is they're going back in time, creating chaos, and then the old school kids are shoving themselves back into Hogwarts because they feel it's their duty to fix things. And then it goes, and each time they go to Hogwarts, I'm like, what are you doing? I think that was partially so that we could pull old school and new school together into this storyline and still have Hogwarts, which is an environment that we've all come to know and love, and we're trying to mix things all together, and how do you do that? But it happened like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5, I don't even remember, because part of my brain is blocking everything out, and it was just, I'm like, stop it, take the story someplace else, evolve it in some way. But no, and the fact that we were time turning to save Cedric Diggory. If that isn't the biggest piece of fan fiction propaganda ever, I don't know what is. No! That just bugged the heck out of me. And then the fact that Voldemort's child, that could never, ever exist. And I will tell you why. 1, because he would never want to have a power struggle with his own progeny, because he's Voldemort and he wants to live forever and hold power forever. So why would he create offspring that could be nearly as powerful as himself? That doesn't make sense. And then Lestrange? What? I'm not even sure he has the right pieces anymore to create a progeny of any kind. Maybe he could create a duplicate of himself so he can extend his life, but I don't see him creating life. No, he would struggle with it too much, because that's the whole point of fighting Harry Potter to begin with, is because he thought he was gonna lose his power. No. Just no. It's not a thing. Ever. That was probably my biggest issue of all of this, besides the fact that this is not a piece of work by J.K. Rowling. I have no idea how much influence she actually had on all of this. I'm hoping she had like this much, because it was painful to get through. It was really painful. There was so much angst, and there was not enough actual plot to keep me interested. Just repetitive time looping and that kind of stuff. However, I will say I did enjoy a little bit when we got to see Snape again and how his character could be in situations like that. I found that a little interesting. But overall, I just no. You know, those were my thoughts. those were my feelings. Leave a comment down below over what you thought or what you're thinking or any kind of words you want to say about this book. I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.